All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the 2025 budget presentation and public hearing. We will be reviewing at a fairly high level, at the fund level, the intended expenditures and anticipated revenues for next year and potential use of fund balance, and I believe we've got some specific opportunities to provide guidance on potential one-time projects, as well as how much we're going to look at supplementing any increases in benefits to personnel. So with that, I will turn this over to our Director of Finance.
Should we open the public hearing?
Oh yeah, let's open this as a public hearing. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we open a public hearing on the 2025 budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open this discussion in the form of a public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And I should mention that this was originally scheduled and advertised for November 6th, but due to the weather emergency, it was postponed and re-noticed and re-advertised for the 13th, today at 11. So with that, I will turn this over to you, Tiffany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Hermes, Finance Director. I'm here today to present to you the draft 2025 budget. The purpose of this presentation is to provide both you, the BOCC, and the citizens a preview of our 2025 budget and our fund requests. Here's a quick screenshot of what our 2024 budget was versus our 2025. In 2024, we were projected or budgeted $44,000 in revenue and $53,000 in expenditures, keeping in mind that $2 million of that was in tax relief for the citizens. In 2025, we are budgeting $50,000 in revenue and $56,000 in expenditures overall as a county. This is not just general, that would be all funds.
I think it's in a later slide, but we brought in about $6 million over the projected revenue numbers this year.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. This was the budgeted.
Those were the budgeted numbers, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So a better look at the general fund just in itself. In 2024, we budgeted $16.7 million in revenue and $18.8 in expenditures, and that's where you see that $2 million deficit for the citizen relief. And in 2025, we're budgeting $19.5 million in revenue and $21.7 million in expenditures. $1 million of that we are considering to do $1 million in tax relief to the citizens, and about another $1 million of those costs are one-time costs. Which does bring our overall right now to balance about $100,000 currently.
Okay, and if I'm tracking, part of the increase in projected revenue and expenses is we're accounting for lease proceeds.
Correct.
In payments out, which
yes.
Kind of off the books under previous.
So previously we haven't budgeted our lease proceeds and capital expenditures that belong to leases. We've always just done the financing and then we've booked it at the end of the year. Going forward, this will make us in GAAP full compliance as far as budgeting both the lease proceeds and the capital expenditures. So the citizens can see in our budgets now that we're going to be getting those lease proceeds in as revenue, and then they're going out at the same amount going out as a capital expenditure as well.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to make sure, point that out for anybody that may be watching or looking at this later, that some of those jumps in the jump in revenue and expenses is pretty much attributed to accounting for the
so in 2025 we have an increase for the lease proceeds in the sheriff's office for their requests for vehicles, and then also in road and bridge for graders.
Okay, thank you.
These are the requests that were put in by all of the departments regarding employment. HR had requested a business manager, admin had requested a PIO, IT and network admin, OEM, a disaster recovery and damage assessment employee, planning and a GIS, facilities wanted an additional maintenance tech, road and bridge, 2 additional truck drivers, and a service tech for their fleet management.
Okay. And the OEM, is that Is that currently in the budget? The others are?
Yes, the OEM employee is currently in the budget, and the road and bridge service technician as well. All the other positions are not currently budgeted. The OEM disaster recovery is actually a current employee now that is being covered by a state through the grant that will expire in February of 2025.
Based on this morning's discussions, I think keeping that
A
position
good position
alive
to
is
keep,
good.
yes.
Any thoughts on the additional employees at this time? I mean, I know we've got about a month before we finalize, so.
I know that the truck drivers were also a fairly large necessity for road and bridge, so they can continue some of their services and hopefully drop some of their contracting that they have with other companies as well.
For the GIS planning, I know currently we've got a contract for that. Would we envision that this is bringing that in-house and dropping the contract dollars, or?
Yes, that's correct. We would work our way out of that, kind of get off of using a contract service and just have a funded position.
That one should be pretty much revenue neutral. On facilities, do you anticipate, I know Monty's acting, or Maddie's acting kind of as the interim, do you anticipate him elevating to facilities manager without the interim, or are we gonna, I'm just trying to figure out where we,
Right now, he is interim. This gives us a chance to evaluate and see how he's doing. So there's no rush to make any changes right now.
okay.
The proposed employees for road and bridge would be out of Fund
Those would be out of Fund 20.
20.
Yes, those would not be general fund employees.
The service tech, so it's Fund 20, they charge back to the other fund departments when they work on vehicles, or they?
So yes, the way that any of our fleet management works is any of the parts and the labor that are charged specifically to another fund are charged then and reimbursed back to Fund 20.
I don't have a problem with the truck drivers, nor really the service tech, but if we could have, just kind of look at the numbers of what are we doing in-house now versus what we're paying to Integrity or Advance for outside work. I think that would make it a little easier to, my suspicion is now that we're doing stuff in-house, that would probably be a cost savings as long as we're keeping them fully workloaded, so.
Okay.
Kind of circle back to the others, I guess, once we see the rest of the numbers.
Okay. This is sort of hard to see, but these were the 2024 budgeted numbers by department. There was a total of 216. This does include part-time employees as well. And then in going into 2025, we have 220. I do want to point out that our Office of Commissioners, our BOCC, there are 4 listed there. That is because 2 of our commissioners are going out in January with the 2 new coming in. So it is counting our 2 as part-time employees for that 1 month. There are technically only 3 employees for those,
So
for that
it
group.
doesn't mean Grant and I get half a year's salary? in
No, you do
January?
not.
No, okay. Good. That wouldn't feel right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
These are the department requests regarding equipment and vehicles. Facilities does have a couple of smaller pickups that are not capable of removing snow. They would like to sell those and upgrade to some bigger pickups that can fulfill their needs. That $90,000 is per pickup, but it also does include the plow and the utility body.
Okay.
It does not include sand boxes, but they said that they would not need those. Facilities is also requesting a gator. This would be very helpful during the fair time for them to run around and help out and take care of things. IT is looking for another small SUV type vehicle to travel between all of the buildings and to help take care of employees. Fleet is looking at replacing a 12-passenger van. They currently have one now that does not have a tow hitch and is a little older, and it's not quite as large, so this would give them the capability to help 4-H as well as trainings for themselves to take more than a couple of people to those trainings. The Sheriff's Office is asking for 9 additional Tahoes with their uplifting. If we were to finance those, that would roughly cost $810,000 over probably 5 years is what we'd be looking
Okay. All right. And again, on fleet, I know the sheriff was looking at, we got a couple of Tahoes that they feel are getting towards end of life. I think we need to look and see if we're just using a small SUV for in and around the county, just repurposing
Yes.
one of those is, I doubt we get 28 grand for an
Yeah.
old Tahoe.
No. We would definitely be able to save some money
Yeah.
buying in-house.
That's probably one we could keep, an older Tahoe, and there'll be other older Tahoes as time goes on, so.
Okay. And then Road and Bridge was wanting to buy multiple pieces of equipment for $1.4 million, and that would be out of their Fund 25, their sales and use tax fund.
And that I think is pretty much captured in their capital improvement plan. So
Yes.
they're not unanticipated.
No, and that's a combination of replacing some older pieces of equipment and adding some additional new pieces.
And I don't know if you guys have any, I don't have any problem with facilities getting a gator at that price. That works for you? And then, as you said, so they're going to excess, for the F-350s, they'd excess 3 pickups and sell them,
So they have 2 half-ton pickups right now that they were wanting to sell. I think they, and I'll have to clarify this with Ethan, we'd be able to get about $15,000 a piece for those. So selling the both of them would not quite cover the cost of one new truck, but it would give them the capability of being able to do more with those vehicles.
so it's either, well.
And they may not need 3 currently now with some of the in-house employment, but 1 to 2 possibly.
And would you anticipate that also being a lease over years?
We could do that as a lease and not as an upfront cost.
That, yeah, if we go forward that way, it's much less impact.
It seems like somewhere along the line I heard too that perhaps the coroner's truck might be able to be swapped out for one of those as well. I don't know if
There was discussion that her truck maybe isn't suitable for the needs that she's needing, and so we could definitely take a look and
Okay,
to have some more discussions with Ethan.
okay, no, that's good, yeah. That's a little overkill.
yeah, it's a
No
hefty,
no pun intended.
it's a hefty vehicle that could probably still be useful here for the plowing and stuff that they're wanting to do and get
Yes.
something more suitable
And it is only a couple years old.
to the coroner's office.
Generally, yeah, I don't think we're gonna hit a 1-ton capacity need with the coroner. Alrighty. Moving on.
These are the capital projects that have been requested by departments. The Sheriff's Office would like to have an interview room compiled. That'd be about $50,000. Earlier in our open BOCC meeting, they had actually come to you and discuss some of the items that they're currently needing. One of those are the ballistic shields. So depending on timing of when we can get those, that could still be a 2025 cost, but it also may be larger than $30,000. But it would also be just a one-time cost. The Sheriff's Office also is requesting replacement of 3 jail doors. They have been replacing those over a couple of years, and these three, I believe, are the last.
Okay.
Facilities has a list of projects that they would possibly like to complete in 2025. Admin parking lot, new flooring through some of the buildings. It's the admin building restrooms upgraded, a sub-remodel, and a new crow's nest at both the main and the warm-up arenas. The main arena is for sure one that they were looking at. The warm-up arena is still in question, just depending on what they're going to do with that arena. The facilities, crow's nest could be out of Conservation Trust Fund. We could possibly do the sub-remodel out of impact. And then we would have $45,000 in the capital improvement fund to cover that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I do think while we're working through potential options for lease or purchase of additional office space, I think it's best to hold off on the parking lot until we know what our long-term plan is. And I'd ask for them to look a little harder at the flooring. I mean, if there's stuff that's torn or loose or it's a trip hazard, let's get after it. But $500,000 in flooring or carpet in 1 year just seems like an awful lot. We got to leave them something for 2026 to do.
Just stealing from what you're saying there, I agree with you. I've got several notes to myself here, 500 here, 500 here, and is that something like this should be done over a 3-year plan. It shouldn't be, it should be planned for and done incrementally, like one building here, one building there, or in the parking lot. Like Chris just said, do we want to pave it and then we can't use it anymore for whatever our future needs are? I would like to see us have some kind of a facilities 3-year plan or 5-year plan that took care of this stuff incrementally based on wear out, so to speak.
Well, and I know we've got come and due in the next week or two an update on the facilities assessment, so that might be the driver of a better long-range planning for.
Yes, the company that did the walkthrough will be setting up a meeting to kind of give you a update on the findings, so.
Yeah.
Meet, we'll just have to set a date.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, if we can take care of the updates on the fairgrounds out of conservation and the facilities remodel out of impact, the bathrooms in this building probably do need to be addressed. They're functional, but definitely showing their age, and there's probably some things we can do to improve ADA access and things like that. But that's one, actually seems relatively low for 6 bathrooms, so.
Do you know, is this sub-remodel, is that exterior or interior?
From my understanding, that's interior. That included bathrooms and then countertops as well, because I've heard that the countertops are short. They're not wide enough for customers to use as well, so they've set up smaller tables on the front sides. And I believe new flooring in there as well was part of that.
You know, lighting in the main area?
Give me 2 seconds here.
Especially this time of year when it gets dark early, that lobby area gets really dark with those just 4, I don't even know what they are, big round globes.
So it looks like they were looking at paint throughout the building, new counters to assist customers, renovate all 4 bathrooms, replace lighting, and some new landscaping as well.
Anything else on this? No. Alrighty.
So on to our employees, discussing our salary and benefit changes. We have proposed an 8% COLA merit upon your discretion on how that would be divided. And then our benefit subsidy, possibly increasing either 100, 200, or 250 to that employee subsidy that they can use for benefits. mostly health insurance or additional health plans, FSAs, 457s, things like that.
Yeah, I know, had some discussion with, with Dolores, and I know having brought everybody up over the last, I mean, really in this last year, to market level, the actual inflation there this year was about 3%. So I think if we allocate 3% to COLA and leave a larger pool for merit, that allows the department heads a little more flexibility to recognize those that are producing more than others. So, so you're good with that?
No, I agree with that, but I'd like to see, though, is some more direction on the merit to the department heads and electeds on if a person's going to get the full, I guess, 5%, or if they're, whatever their total amount is, this is what the criteria looks like for this employee to receive the 5%, and this is what a 4%, obviously a 5% or more employee, the whole place is going to fall apart if they leave, so we want to reward that. But in the past, it's been so much, it's just been kind of an automatic pilot, and that's really not what the intent of the merit is. It's to reward high performers, and so we need to have that kind of very adamantly explained to the department heads and elected officials that that's kind of what the expectation is to reward good performance, not just an additional COLA.
Yeah. I'd kind of ask as we do that perhaps the one level up from the supervisor that's granting it, that those discussions take place. So if the director's kind of looking over the shoulder of a department head just to make sure that they're doing the hard work of being a leader. And then ideally this would also help on the evaluation and documentation side. I mean, we tend to, everybody's great until we decide they're not, is not the best way to go forward. And our employees deserve that regular feedback.
We can work with HR to make sure that that is expressed to the department heads and the electeds.
What's our current, for the benefit subsidy, what's the current amount?
So they are tiered because we have the wave, the employee only, employee plus one, and then we have the families. The wave is at $500 a month. The employee is at $1,000. The employee plus one is $1,250, and then the family is at $1,500.
My understanding as we look through this at the very, I mean, I know we're providing a 3% COLA, but I guess the average increase on our health insurance was about 6%, or no, 11.
It was 11%.
Yeah, okay, that's.
The most increased plan was about 250 to 275.
Yeah, so I do think the 250 is, I mean, that keeps us, at least the out-of-pocket stays stable at 250, so I think that's where we should go. And that, so, yeah.
And of course, that 571 would be dispersed between funds with employees, not just general fund.
And then, so 1750 per month for families.
Yes.
I mean, it's a healthy.
Help them get their better insurance, yeah.
Anything on this?
No, just on the 5% merit there is that going through the schedule of where employees have been hired, that the merit is usually done annually.
Correct, it'd be on their anniversary date.
So if you go through that, it looks like the actual out-of-pocket expense will be somewhere around 3% because of the timing during the year.
It could be, yes.
Okay, so I guess we move on to the individual funds.
Yes, so here's just a quick glimpse at the funds at a whole. Here's the general fund, and I apologize, the font's fairly small, but it gives you your 2022 actuals, 2023 actuals, your 2024 budgeted amounts, and then your year-to-date totals as of October 31st. And then what we're projecting for budget in 2025. Overall, we are looking at that same number of 2.1 million over budget currently. Again, 1 million of that is for citizen relief. 1 million is for one-time costs, and so we're about 100,000 at the moment.
All right.
Here's information for the health fund. They are actually doing very well this year. They were projecting to be possibly dipping into fund balance, but they are on an upward slope and looking at possibly putting money into their fund balance in 2024. And same with 2025. They've been very conservative with their expenditures and look to be increasing that in 25 as well.
No, it's good. I remember, I think, when we prepared last year's budget, there was about a potential of about a 20 grand shortfall.
Yes,
We would have covered out of general fund, so I'm glad
they're doing
additional
well.
grant monies and what their revenues are up. That's good.
Yes.
All right.
Road and Bridge, they are projecting to dip into fund balance again, but there is some additional information that will help understand this a little bit more. We have $1.98 million obligated currently from FEMA. We have not received it, but it has been obligated. We are just trying to project if that's going to come in 2024, if we'll receive it, or if it's going to be received in 2025, which will help us determine if they will end up dipping into fund balance in 2024, or if that'll be 2025, they shouldn't have to dip into any fund balance. Because they also have an additional $646,000 that is pending approval with the state. So overall, they should have almost $1.6 million coming in from FEMA in 2025.
Yeah, so I guess well, if it's not here, we'll project it as next year, but.
Yes.
All right.
Sales and use, this is where Road and Bridge does all of their capital projects out of. They do have some big projects planned again in 2025, as well as the $1.4 million in equipment that they want to purchase. So they are looking at dipping into their balance about $3 million. But this is again, I believe it's 166, continuing that project, and then some other smaller projects and some bridge rebuilds as well.
And I know they've got a very, very healthy fund balance on
Yes.
sales and use. Okay.
This is the LEAF fund. This is for our sheriff's office. This is where we have all of their capital leases budgeted. And so you will see that the revenue and the expenditures did go up substantially from previous year in this fund. We do as well have 3 positions budgeted here. They are to be filled last. So with the vacancies that the sheriff's office has had, we have not filled any positions in Fund 40 in 2024. We do have them budgeted again in 2025. If they are to fill, we may need to look at moving those from Fund 40 to the general fund for future use.
And then again, this big jump in revenue and expenditures is because we're capturing
Their lease
lease
proceeds
and
and
lease
their capital
proceeds
expenditure.
this year.
Yes,
So really not any big change in actual amounts in or out.
correct.
Okay.
Human services. One thing that we are doing a little differently this year, they have 2 options. They can budget 100% to their allocation with the federal and the state and the county, or they can just budget their county share. Previously, they have budgeted both the federal and the state with us, and that makes it sometimes difficult with auditing. So we are going to change theirs to just county only, which will make our expenditures with the auditors look more accurate and much clearer.
Yeah, I'd just ask in the narrative piece of the budgets that we do capture
Yep.
Outside of the automated system.
Yes.
What's anticipated from those sources.
Okay.
Because again, Absolutely. From the commissioner side, this is much simpler for us to,
Just
only
seeing
one
the-
fiscal year, one source of revenue,
Yes, exactly.
one set of expenditures, but I don't want to, for the public and the incoming commissioners, we don't want to lose sight that there's many, many more millions that are not,
Yes,
that are not on the
funded
books
through them.
that we track, but the state and feds do.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Next is our retirement fund. It is holding healthy. We look to be possibly putting some funds into our fund balance this year. And even with the possible 8% with the COLA and the merit, we look to be stabilizing there as well. We have been utilizing our forfeiture balance through our retirement company, and that has also stabilized our revenue source as well.
And again, just for folks that may be watching, this is a defined contribution plan. There's no long-term
Nope.
liabilities on the county. It's paid out in the year and it becomes the property once they're vested of the employee themselves.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Next, we have the capital improvement fund. We have had a couple projects that have come up this year, unbudgeted mostly to the fairgrounds, just trying to get some of those done. We don't currently have anything budgeted now. As we were going over some of those projects, we can look at possibly doing either SEB or the admin bathrooms from here, because it will have a fund balance of about $137,000.
No, and that's a good one. I mean, the timing is good for the new facilities assessment because I think the one we did in, I think it was 18, was about $2.5 million that we put
Split out.
$500,000 a year for many years to get those projects taken care of. So.
Last, we have our Conservation Trust Fund. This is used to fund projects on the fairgrounds. We have been doing a lot more projects this year, trying to get it up to date for our 4-H'ers that were not budgeted, but were approved in a BOCC meeting. And those are still ongoing. So I am working with facilities to get a list of what those projects are going to look like for the end of 2024 versus what will be completed in 2025. So we have the correct amounts budgeted for projects that were not completed this year that were already approved.
So I know that we've got a bid at least in for the pavilion, but
Yes,
that was about 100,000-ish.
correct.
Doubt we'll pay it this year.
More than likely not.
All right.
Here's a summary of our financial audit of 12/31 of fund balances. You'll see the general fund is healthy at $16.9 million. Health fund is $494. Road and bridge did dip down due to the flooding last year to 1.7. Sales and tax use is healthy at 11,000 or 11 million, excuse me. LEAF has 386,000. Human services is staying level at 1.5. Retirement fund has 255. The capital improvement was at 240,000, and our conservation trust fund is at 844. Forecasting for the end of 2024, you'll see that we're building the general fund balance. The health fund has also improved. You will see that road and bridge could be at a deficit depending on those FEMA dollars if we do not receive them in 2024. Go ahead.
That also, this doesn't account for the 400,000 snowstorm we just had
Correct.
for this year. So.
I was looking at October variances this morning, and overall they were at about 12.73, I believe, left of their budget, so they will be tight. So that number could definitely change by end of year.
Yeah, it's just as we get close to the very end, and this accounts for the $1 million in tax relief as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's see where the numbers wind up. There might be just to keep the books correct and not project negative balances. We may want to do a small adjustment for 1 year on between road and bridge and general fund mills.
Okay. Sales and use, Sales and use is increasing to grow to 12.4. LEAF is staying fairly steady at 362. Same with human services at 1.5. And again, you'll see retirement staying level 283. That capital improvement fund had dropped a little bit, but still could get a couple projects done. And the Conservation Trust Fund dropped a little as well with all of the projects going on at the fairgrounds.
And the health fund, those numbers account for the increase
Yes.
per capita? Yeah.
Yes.
So what's the total fund balance?
Each fund has its own.
Yeah, I know, but I understand that. But for the county,
You want the net position?
total those up.
I will get back to you on that. I don't have that with me right now.
It's much better than the 8 million across all the funds that was here when we got here 8 years ago. Yeah, there's about three funds that exceed our total county net. Alrighty.
Oh, going forward, I feel like you guys answered the COLA and the merit and benefit pieces. And we can just circle back around to the FTE equipment and the capital projects for final.
Alrighty. Okay.
Questions and comments?
Do you have any additional?
On general or these specific items?
You may ask whichever.
I think as far as the full-time employees, I think we're probably to the point where we don't need to be increasing unless we actually have to. So I guess I would be in favor of dropping the business manager and the PIO for sure. And I'm with the network administrator, I think there was discussion on there were some projects that IT would like to do, but on whether that needed to be done all at once or if it could be scheduled out, that might affect the need for that position. So maybe we evaluate that a little bit.
The same is likely true on facilities. They had an ambitious set of projects for next year, and I could see where they might want an additional person if they're doing all of that. But if we stretch that out, they may be okay. I'm with you on that. I think the road and bridge ones I'm good with. I still would like to see the numbers on how much money we're spending on repairs and maintenance outside the county versus what we're doing in-house now. I think that'd just be useful. And then see where the numbers fall out. I mean, I know we've definitely added some ads.
Yes.
So just to see what that does for, would like to at least come out where we're holding our fund balance in the general fund level. So we may have to go back to the departments and ask them to take a little haircut here and there. But overall, I mean, again, I know the numbers look bigger because we're pulling in the lease monies in and out. So, but compared to the big jump in expenses, just inflationary expenses plus filling our vacancies, which has been absolutely necessary to provide services, and then bringing those positions up to market. We've had a couple of really expensive years. Really don't want to set up, as I leave after 8 years, I don't want to set us up for
failure.
just decisions that we shouldn't be setting ourselves up to have to make hard cut decisions in the future. It's rather better to kind of grow with our revenue. And, I guess it would be appropriate, since this is a public hearing at this time, to open for public comment. All right. Well, I see nobody that would like to approach the mic. One citizen that indicates approval. So with that, I would, without objection, close public comment at this time. And all righty. Anything, Sean, from your point of view, or? Okay, and so I guess our folks been working on their narratives and.
Yes, I have requested that those be drafted by the 22nd, I believe, with the Thursday before Thanksgiving, to give us ample time to look at those and prepare the budget book.
Alrighty, and then I guess I should have asked earlier during the public comment phase, but I know we've had the draft numbers out since the 15th. Have we
Correct.
gotten any feedback?
I have not received any.
Okay, and then the only public comment I'm aware of on the actual presentation was a typo that's been corrected. So,
Yes.
So, I guess I'll take it. There's a lot of ways you can look at lack of public interest in this hearing, and I'm going to choose to take it as some confidence that we're spending our taxpayer dollars in a way that most find acceptable. So, any final?
No.
Okay, that'd take a motion to close public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move we close the public hearing on the 2025 draft budget.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close public hearing on the draft 2025 budget. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right, we are done, and this was a separate meeting, so I guess we should, well, we closed and adjourned. Yeah, I guess we should adjourn this, and there is no more business before it, so at 11:41, we are adjourned, and we will come back to our regular BOCC meeting at 1 p.m. at this location for land use. Thank you.